News now. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Petey Gatton. Let's get right to breaking developments now in the arrest of a pipe bomb suspect almost 5 years in the making. Our team has got you covered. Former FBI agent Dr. RJ Toledo joins us with a deeper look into the investigation. Plus, Christian Flores with a look near the suspect's home where he was taken into custody this morning. But first, we go to Ryan Smith at the live desk with the newly released image of the suspect as well as the charges he is facing. Ryan?
Yeah, the suspect here who evaded arrest for years, previously seen only in this grainy surveillance video. He has now been identified and arrested here. He is 30-year-old Brian KOKH Jr. Investigators reviewing credit card purchases of pipe bomb components, cell phone data, and a license plate reader to zero in on their suspect KOKH, along with tens of thousands of video files.
Let me be clear, there was no new tip, there was no new witness, just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work.
And I pledge to you that the United States Attorney's Office will take this case across the finish line.
Oh, he's charged with transporting an explosive device and malicious destruction by means of explosion. Pam Bondi now saying more charges could be coming. The pipe bombs are found near both the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters on the eve of January 6th insurrection.
And staying in Virginia, twin brothers have been arrested for allegedly conspiring to delete and tamper with multiple U.S. government agencies' databases. Today, prosecutors said that minutes after Manib and Sohab Akhtar were fired from their federal contracting job, they accessed and manipulated critical systems. The two have already served years-long prison sentences after pleading guilty in 2015 to federal charges tied to data breaches at the State Department. The two denied any wrongdoing in a Bloomberg interview earlier this year. Continue to follow the breakthrough in the investigation into the pipe bombs planted in Washington, D.C. before January 6th. Joining us now is Christian Flores with our station WJLA in Washington, D.C. And Christian, I know that tonight you're on Capitol Hill. You're at the RNC headquarters where one of the pipe bombs was found. But earlier you were out in Virginia. Law enforcement was seen at the home associated with suspect Brian KOKH Jr. What do we know about any evidence taken from the house or any neighbors?
Well, we were there pretty much, we had crews there the entire day, and detectives were there pretty much until about 6 p.m. And that's when we started to move back up here to the RNC and the DNC headquarters, which was just down the street. But as far as evidence, our cameras definitely captured detectives going in and out of the house, but there already was a mountain of evidence. At the announcement today, we heard from these law enforcement leaders saying that they were able to gather a lot of things, including exactly where the suspect's cell phone was pinging, and also they checked his bank records to see what he purchased, and he allegedly purchased a lot of the bomb-making items that were found on these pipe bombs.
And do we have any evidence, as you were just speaking there, we were showing the aerial views of the neighborhood, and you just saw it was just striking, all the law enforcement vehicles lining the side of that neighborhood. Do we have any evidence as to what could have been a motivating factor behind this pipe bomb case?
Yeah, so the law enforcement leaders stopped short of saying any sort of motivation or if this was at all related to what we saw on January 6th. Of course, this is still very early in the investigation. Even though this legal process has kicked off and it's gone to the courts, there's still an investigative process, as you saw with those images. Detectives are still searching the house and serving these search warrants. So that's something that we're going to wait to see if we get any sort of updates, if they're able to connect any sort of motivation to the planting of these two pipe bombs.
Obviously, yeah, political motivations will definitely be investigated, as you can imagine, considering the timing of it all. Christian Flores reporting tonight in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much.
After a nearly 5-year investigation, police arrested a 30-year-old Virginia resident as the suspect who planted the pipe bombs in D.C. on January 6th. Yesterday, investigators also revealed when they searched Brian KOKH Jr.'s residence, they found pipe bomb making materials inside where he lived with his mother. So why did it take 5 long years to solve this? Joining us this morning is former FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jody Weiss. Jody, good morning to you. It sounds like basic detective work really that led to this suspect. He was in the area the whole time. So as a veteran law enforcement agent, how did this go unsolved when it seems like this evidence was there? There was nothing new that led the FBI to him.
Yeah, great question. It makes you wonder if they were actually looking for him 4 years ago. You look how they found him, Jan. I mean, it's cell phone data. That's been around for almost 20 years. That certainly wasn't anything new. Once they had a name associated with a phone that had been at both locations, then you can just work outward. They did a great job. There's license plate readers everywhere in around the D.C. area. And then once that, you can get financial records and go back and say, what was this guy might have been buying? And lo and behold, having those devices that didn't function, you had great comparative evidence, forensic evidence, to compare what some of his purchases were. So they were able to go back, I believe, Janine Pirro said, to 2019 and look at what he was buying, which were bomb components. So great job. But yeah, it's a head scratcher as to why this wasn't solved about 4 years ago.
Well, and FBI Director KOKH Patel said himself the prior administration refused and failed to act on information they'd gathered. Attorney General Pam Bondi said that the evidence used to track him down had been collecting dust. But for someone as dangerous as this, the suspect, because as we know, those bombs could have detonated. They did not, but they could have, and it could have been catastrophic. Why would the FBI not prioritize this?
You know, the only thing I can think of, two reasons. Incompetence, which could have happened. Maybe they lost some of the people that knew how to actually do this type of investigation using cell phone data, which is highly unlikely. But I think the other issue, Jan, is that Bureau had so many resources dedicated trying to track down individuals from the January 6th incident. So I think when you dedicate all those resources and divert them to that area, I just don't think there was any intent to look on this because it didn't fit the agenda. Yeah. Everything was geared on that January 6th incident.
But that was 5 years ago. What about 4 years ago? What about last year, right? There's still 5 years that span the time here. So what about the bombs themselves? You were a special agent bomb technician. You also managed teams responsible for locating and disarming explosive devices. You're very familiar with this kind of bomb. What were your thoughts about it and why it didn't go off?
Yeah, they were kind of your typical pipe bombs. You had the pipe, which would have been the container, and could be the fragmentation. What was a little interesting in this one is that KOKH actually apparently made the explosive, a homemade black powder filler with the potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal. That might have been part of the reason he may not have gotten the mixture right, that they didn't go off. He used apparently like steel wool as a fusing igniter. So to figure out why they didn't function, it could have been a multitude of things. Something as simple as the batteries didn't have enough juice in them, the timers jammed. But it's so fortunate, Jan, that they did not go off, because then you had all that forensic evidence. And every bomber, whoever it is, good guy or a bad guy, they always leave a signature. So they could go back and look at the different components, and then they had something to compare them to. So again, once you look and find the possible suspect, and you start looking and you can find out what was he buying for the past, 6 years, then you can actually make a really strong case. But we're very fortunate these devices didn't go off, because had they gone off, there could have been a lot of people hurt or killed.
Yeah, and very quickly, is this a slam dunk case?
No case is slam dunk. You always have to work the case, and we do have to get his motive. That's what I'm really interested in, because you look at this guy's background, he didn't really show any of the common signs of some crazy activist. Quiet guy, believed to be perhaps autistic, walks around their neighborhood with his dog, quiet, shy. So they got to learn a lot more about him, but based upon what was presented last night, I think it's a pretty strong case.
Yeah, and the fact that they also said they found similar bomb-making materials inside the house. Police did reveal that as well.
Yeah, and what does that mean, Jan? Did he have future targets? More people to attack? Who knows?
Well, the investigation's just begun. Former FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jody Weiss, we appreciate you joining us this morning with some more insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Have a great day.
You too.
Years later, law enforcement identifies a suspect they say planted pipe bombs near the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters. It was January 5th, 2021. Joining us tonight to discuss is former FBI agent Dr. R.J. Toledo. As always, it's great to see you. According to Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director KOKH Patel, it was detailed, old-fashioned investigative work examining every clue that led to the arrest we learned of today. In a case like this, are you surprised by today's developments?
Anytime that a case starts going cold as an investigator, you know that the probability of solving it starts to decrease. So it was a bit surprising, the news today, given how little evidence they seemed to gather at the time. But hey, this is what all good investigators do. They stick with the case until it's solved, no matter how long it takes. And this is something that the FBI specializes in, really.
I mean, you remember the time in 2021, everyone was wearing masks. You saw the surveillance video, to your point there. Historically, in cases like this, is it one major clue or a body of evidence that leads to an arrest?
Well, in this case, the huge obstacle they had from the get-go was identifying who this person that was involved was. To narrow that down from an impossibly large number of possibilities to at least a few people who it could be, that's what investigators really had to go through a lot of the painstaking work. In this case, it seemed like they were trying to match cell phone records of people in the area and then trying to match that with purchases of the components that were used for the device. This is something that it took a really long time. And once they did that, the elements start then coming together after that.
Search warrants have been and are currently being executed. I would assume the investigators will be looking into the suspect's home, work history, possible DNA, right?
Yeah, first and foremost, the focus is going to be on confirming in every possible way that the subject is the one that committed the crime. It's about then, after that, building this case for court. So they're going to look at every single aspect of his life to piece together the motives, the reasons behind why he wanted to commit this crime, social media, any groups that he was a part of, friendships, anything he was talking about. What possibly led up to him being motivated to do something like this?
Yeah, was it political? The timing of it all questions that we know hopefully will be answered soon. Former FBI agent Dr. R.J. Toledo, thank you for joining us tonight on the National News Desk.
Thank you.
A major breakthrough in the January 6th pipe bomb case. 30-year-old Brian Cole Jr. is in federal custody nearly 5 years after those bombs were found in the nation's capital, and investigators say the evidence was there the whole time, but the Biden administration's Justice Department ignored it. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jan Jeffcoat. It is Friday, December 5th. We do end the week together with the latest developments from the Justice Department on the pipe bomb suspect officials say had been just walking free, living 30 miles from the scene of the crime. In fact, Attorney General Pam Bondi said there was nothing new that led to the arrest, but rather Biden's DOJ sitting on evidence that could have led to a prosecution if it had been prioritized.
The FBI, along with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our prosecutors, have worked tirelessly for months, sifting through evidence that had been sitting at the FBI with the Biden administration for 4 long years. Let me be clear, there was no new tip, there was no new witness, just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work.
And we want to get right to Mark Boyle at the live desk with the very latest developments for us this morning. You know, you got to think this is sort of a sigh of relief for so many people. This was a long time coming. Hopefully this is the end of it, too.
And they're going to continue to come out with new information, though, Jan, because we've heard nothing for so long. And now the new details within the past 24 hours includes new evidence found inside the suspect's home. The suspect accused in planting those pipe bombs at the DNC and RNC, now back in January 2021, is in custody this morning. His scheduled court appearance later today. His name is Brian Cole Jr. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Janine Pirro said he was found living in Woodbridge, Virginia, about 25 miles away from the Capitol. And according to federal leaders, no new evidence was ever presented in this case. It was just that good police work, they say, led them to the suspect.
This is in our nation's capital where this happened. And now, thanks to the FBI, we know that this defendant was living just miles away from here in Virginia.
A little more on the background of the suspect here. He is 30 years old. He is accused of planting 2 different pipe bombs, one near the DNC, one near the RNC, the night before January 6, 2021. Investigators say cell phone pings placed him in that area. Also, his car was in the area, so there was a couple of those nuggets of information that led them to the suspect. As for work, we're told that he worked in an office of a bail bondsman and again lived in Woodbridge, Virginia, about 30 miles from D.C. Investigators say upon going into the suspect's home, they found more bomb-making material. The D.C. attorney says Cole could be buying, or they think he was buying, in fact, products since 2019.
This defendant will begin his journey through the criminal justice system. And I pledge to you that the United States Attorney's Office will take this case across the finish line.
Cole should be making that appearance in court in just a few hours. We'll track it for you here at the live desk.
Thank you all for being here for this critical investigation we've been working on for a very long time. We deeply appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words, Attorney General and Director. I appreciate it. Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement. This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's said a lot in this business. It was a team effort. It becomes cliche, but cliches are useful for a reason because they matter. And this was a team effort. The director and the attorney general emphasized that it was not a new public tip this came from. This was our internal work at the FBI. And I want to just really express my sincere gratitude to this attorney general and this president for allowing us the latitude. I spoke with Ms. Bondi very early when we, maybe day 2, and I said, we're going to get this guy. And she said, yes, you are. And we did. I want to also thank, he's not here, but Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who we deal with often as well, who could not have been more supportive. Whatever process we need, Judge Janine, Todd, and Attorney General Bondi, they were there. All you had to do, they were a phone call away. And their team was amazing. We actually never had to make that phone call because they were always responsive. Thank you, Judge, as well. You were amazing. Folks, you're not going to walk into our capital city, put down 2 explosive devices, and walk off in the sunset. Not going to happen. We were going to track this person to the end of the earth. There was no way he was getting away. Well, we didn't have to track him to the end of the earth. It wound up in Woodbridge, Virginia. I want to thank the team. They were amazing. They never let this go. Again, Attorney General Bondi, for your incredible support. Director Patel, Judge, I know they're giving me a lot of unnecessary credit, but make no mistake, they were intimately involved in this and were there for all of those supportive mechanisms, and I deeply appreciate it. The man whose team did the work is the Assistant Director in charge of our Washington field office, Darren Cox. Darren's got some comments, and Darren has some more details on the case he can provide. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.